Okay.
No rest for the wicked.
So, yeah, I think, Bob, would you like to introduce Julie? We would like to. Who isn't here yet either?
Well, it's onward and upward with the meeting today. How about that? All right, well, this young lady who's going to have a word with us in a minute, it's only she needed no introduction. At any rate, Julie comes to us today from Next South, and she was talking earlier about our 4-5 weeks. She claims that they're the ones that started. So we'll
They are.
So we'll give
See?
her credit.
Confirmed.
Confirmed, okay. Well, Julie comes to us today with 25 years of business experience in sales leadership, and marketing, including 19 years at the Hershey Company, building business, leading firms, and developing people. This experience is the foundation for connecting and engaging with clients around their real business challenges and opportunities. Julie has worked with clients across a wide variety of industries to drive positive change into their organization. Having spoken with her earlier, I can see exactly where that energy comes from. So, Julie, welcome to our meeting today, and we look forward to hearing that.
All right, I'll just take the mic. And for you guys online, so sorry that you're going to see this side of me. So anyway, I'll do the best I can. I'm going to pop up a quick PowerPoint and
It's
okay,
fine.
it's all good. It is all good. All right, so slideshow. Here we go. So I won't see them, right? Once I see the slides. Okay.
I can adjust it. What is happening?
Julie, I'm gonna try to get you.
Oh, so much better. Hi, everybody. Okay, sorry. I'm just trying to be silly. I don't know if you guys can see the slides or not, but I want to just quickly say who I am. First, I'm going to start in the middle. I am a wife and a mom of 2 children. My daughter just graduated from high school, and she's going off to Tennessee in 3.5 weeks. And my son is a rising junior. Both went to, my daughter went to South Mac, my son is at South Mac, so Charlotte Public Schools. And yeah, so that's my family. As mentioned in my bio, I spent 19 years working with the Hershey Company in sales and sales leadership. I've led teams all over the country. So my background is with Hershey. But my transition from sales and sales leadership to the work I do now all started with a book called The Energy Bus. And so I pictured a bus there so you guys can see it. But if you have, has anybody in this room by any chance read The Energy Bus? The book, The Energy Bus? No. So this book was given to me by a guy on one of my teams that I was leading, and he was living out west, and I went out to Boise. I was his new boss, and he gave a copy of this book, The Energy Bus, to his whole team, and then to me as his new boss. And he said, I really want you to read this book on your flight home. So I read the book on my flight home from Boise, and I was like, this is it. Like, this is how I want to run my team. This is how everyone should be running their team. Like, this stuff is so awesome. And I sort of became known as the energy bus inside Hershey. And I love that. Like, you guys can kind of tell I'm dorky about this stuff. So I was like, yeah, I'm the energy bus. But what it started with me is a seed that was planted. And this book was written by an author named John Gordon. And so I started reaching out to John. And I wrote him a letter and said, hey, John, I want you to know the impact that this book has made on my life and my team. I've been using the principles and practices inside the book, and my team is transformed. And the cool thing about it is that my team is not only thriving when the business is good, but we're thriving when the chips are down. And that's really what it's all about, is being able to thrive when things get hard. So I wrote him this letter, and he responded. And then I read another book, and I wrote another letter, and I read another book, and I wrote another letter. And then I was like, I need to meet this guy. So I am part of this executive women's leadership group here in Charlotte. So I invited him to come speak. And then I was like, really fangirling. And so I was like, can I introduce him? And there were maybe 300 people or so in the room. And I did my stuff that I had to cover beforehand. And then I introduced John Gordon. And he gets up on the stage and he said, I think Julie's more excited about my work than I am. And I was like, yes, I am. And this was in March of 2014. And so that entire year, 9 months, I kept saying to my husband, the John Gordon thing, the John Gordon thing, the John Gordon thing, the John Gordon thing. And in December, he was like, what exactly is the John Gordon thing? And I was like, well, I'm going to be working with him next year. And he goes, well, does he know that? I was like, excellent point, honey. So I wrote him another letter and I said, top 5 reasons why we should work together in 2015. And a few days later, he called me back and I was down at the Morrison Y walking around the track with my son. My daughter was at basketball practice. It's loud. I have no pen, no paper, no nothing. Walking around with my son and I see this call come across from Jacksonville, Florida, and that's where John lives. And I looked at my son, he was this little then, now he's like, you can see what he is now. And I was like, this is gonna be John Gordon. Yeah, whatever, Mom, I don't even know who you're talking about. And I picked it up and it was John Gordon. And he's big time, you guys. Like, you haven't read his books, but he's big time. He has 23 books, he's a best-selling author, top seeker, like, he's big time. And he called me and said, okay, I got your email, what do you wanna do with this? I said, I wanna speak about the energy bus, that the world needs to hear this message. As if he wasn't already delivering. Right? Like, I'm a nobody in this space. But I'm like, the world needs to hear this. And so by the time we got off the call, he was like, okay, you can speak about the energy bus. I'm going to give you the materials and tell you what to do, and you can go start speaking for free and see if you like it before you quit your day job. And I was like, that's really excellent advice. So I did that. And I went out and I started speaking to Rotary clubs and junior leagues and women's groups and really anyone who would listen. My very first talk was actually at my club that I eventually joined. I was not a member at the time. One of my friends was a member and he said, you should come speak. And I remember, how many in the room know Wally Olson?
Oh, yeah. Do I have to?
Who doesn't know Who doesn't know Wally Olson? So I'm giving my energy bus talk at Excel, and he's like, afterwards, he's like, so what do you want to do with this? And I'm like, well, I want to try to blah, 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 blah. And he's like, try or do? Like, what are you going to do? You don't try, like, you got to make it happen. And he was like, putting the screws to me hard. Like, you got to make it happen. It was really funny because I didn't know him then. Now, of course, I know him well, but it was so funny the way he kind of pushed and prodded me to move forward. But anyway, from there until now, I've been working with John for 6.5 years. I put this image of the power of positive leadership here, and I'm probably going to give away one of these for participation today. But I put this image of this because over the 6.5 years, I've created workshops, I've created talks, and I've created so many things around John's work, but we co-created the power of positive leadership training together. So it's based on the principles inside this book, The Power of Positive Leadership. But I go out and I teach and train companies and organizations and teams and individuals all the time how to use positivity and mindset and energy to create more positive cultures and really to fuel ourselves. So we're going to talk about that too. So I really kind of just wanted you to know the background. And of course, you all already know I'm a Rotary. So I'm part of the Next South Club, the fun club, the first fun club, not the only fun club. Before I get into the content around positivity, Kevin asked me to share a little bit with you all about SFTL. And for those of you who don't know what SFTL is, SFTL is a District 7680 sponsored program, which is a high school leadership program. So SFTL stands for Seminar for Tomorrow's Leaders. And basically, it's a program that was created in collaboration with the Center for Creative Leadership, which is in Greensboro. This is one of the top leadership institutes in the world. They have offices all over the world, and they created this curriculum and shared it with us. So it's sort of our district's version of RILA. So if you've ever been in another district, this is kind of the RILA version for District 7680. And it is an incredible experience. And here's the thing. You may or may not know it, but your club has been sponsoring students to go to SFTL over the years. But a lot of clubs don't really know what it is and what it's all about. So I wanted to share a couple things with you. And I will tell you, as a Rotary volunteer for SFTL for the last 6 years, I'm one of the facilitators. Deb Corbett and I are the two main facilitators for SFTL. It's a huge commitment and active service. We leave on a Wednesday. We stay in the dorms at Gardner Webb for 4 nights. That's really comfortable and relaxing. And we just pour our energy and our hearts into these kids for 4 days. And we come home on Sunday evening. And these kids come in, and when they first come in, they're like, who are these dorks? Like, you know, I don't want to hang out with these people. And their walls are up. It's a hugely diverse crowd. And their walls are up and their barriers are up. And they're like, I'm not sure. But then as the weekend goes on, all the walls come down. And you just see these beautiful connections with these kids. And you just see it all come down. Like I literally have chills talking about it. It was just last weekend. And it's just such an incredible program. So if you have the opportunity at any point, we do it every summer in July. If you have the opportunity at any point to serve for SFTL, if you want to commit your weekend, there are mentors. So the way you can see these pictures on the side, these are mentor groups. So we have a couple of facilitators that teach all the content, of which I'm one of those. But then we have mentors that have groups of like 7 or 8. And inside those mentor groups, we give them, you know, of course, a mentor guide so they know what to do, but they're engaging and connecting and working with these students and building these deep relationships, not only between the mentor and the students, but among the mentor groups. So they're all building these deep relationships with each other. We had this one girl, oh my gosh, this one girl last weekend, she came in and she, like on the outside, she looked fine. She looked like she was having an okay time and everything was good. Well, word came on Friday night that or actually Saturday morning, that she had called her mom Friday night at 11:30 saying, Mom, please come pick me up. I want to go home. I don't like this. I'm not comfortable here. I can't stay. I don't want to stay, blah, 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 blah. Well, her mentor talked to her and encouraged her to stay and whatever. And I happened to be able to have a conversation with her on Saturday morning. And I guess she just decided to stay. Maybe her mom said, whatever it is. Well, this girl stood up on Sunday morning. And we do this activity where we have them pick a card. We have all these images around the room, and they pick a card at the beginning on Friday morning of what image represents leadership to you, and then at the end on Sunday morning they pick up a new card, and we say based on everything you learned, what is your new definition of leadership? So they stand up. So this girl stood up and she showed her new picture, and she started crying. She was like, I didn't want to come here. My parents made me come here. And she told the whole group the story of how she was begging her mom to come pick her up. And she's like, I decided to stay. And I was with my mentor group yesterday. And I was telling them how I'm so dumb and I can't do this and I can't do that. And they all encouraged me. And they all started putting all this love, pouring all this love into me. And we just, all the walls came down. We all just opened up to each other. And now I love these people so much and blah, blah, blah. And I'm so glad I stayed. You know, and it was just literally, the chills can't even go away. So this is what it's like, and I'm going to play you a quick video from SFTL last weekend, and then I'm going to share a parent letter, and then we'll get into the positivity stuff. So I really want you guys to have an appreciation for what this program really is. Oh, well, hopefully we can. Let's see. All right, hopefully this will click. Let me turn the volume up. Where is it here? No. A lot of blindfolding. It's actually not as much as you think. It's like 2 activities. All right. All right, awesome. Hopefully that won't rerun again. If it does, I'll just flip to the next slide. So anyway, one more thing regarding SFTL, and then I'll move on. So this is a letter we got the next day after camp from one of the parents. It says, my daughter came home to, this went to Scott Vanderlyn, by the way. My daughter came home today from your program with a fire I have not seen before. Yes, she is a motivated overachiever, but what I listened to for 3 hours straight is she is so excited to use her new resources to help her community this year in Interact Club. She has been so inspired to think outside the 4 walls of her community as interested in studying abroad or starting a nonprofit as a result of seeing what others have accomplished. She is most certainly an extrovert. However, she struggles with confidence and social anxiety, of which we have worked hard on her pushing through those initial uncomfortable moments. This experience showed her that there are others just like her and so many others on the continuum, which gave her much needed perspective and in the end, confidence on how to know her spot in the world, to claim it and be proud of it because she is not alone and each type of person brings their own strengths to the table. At the same time, she has awareness to temper her large personality when she needs to for her introverted friends. She now sees this as a positive and not as a way of making herself smaller. She also told a story of feeling so good knowing that so many people touched her shoulder in the appreciation exercise, even though she really only talked deeply with about 7 to 8 people during the program. This was profound for both of us. She needed to know that she touches others' lives in a positive way, even when she didn't think so. It was impactful for me because I often see a negative, glass half empty kid. So for her to get feedback that she exudes positivity in the world with so many people warms my heart. Your program not only taught her practical application for leadership, but it gave her so much more. Confidence, inspiration, and a fire that I am proud to see awakened in my daughter. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Right? So good, so good. So just
Can I interrupt you for 1 second?
yes.
I want to share with this group because,
Do you want the mic?
yeah, thank you. This is, SFTL is something that I'm really just starting to learn about. But when we talk about Rotary and the future of Rotary, this is it. It's investing in our kids, investing in them and showing them the power of service. I wanted to share with you a note that I got from a young man who is on the spectrum and who volunteered with us a couple of weeks ago at Medicine. His mom said he called me and had a brightness in his voice I haven't heard in a long time. He was so chatty and was telling me all about the opportunities and the people he met. We are so grateful to you and your club for allowing him to come along. Hopefully he didn't make you too late this morning. So that is the kind of stuff, when we impact these kids' lives.
Yes.
That's what it's about.
Yes, so good. So I really wanted you guys to just have a sense, because when you hear it when you see the video and you hear it in a parent's words, it brings so much more life to, hey guys, we're looking for volunteers for a teen leadership program. You know, it's just not the same. So hopefully next year, when it comes time to think about delegates for this, you'll remember this piece, and we're going to continue to share out more of these things, because this is where you see the impact, and even that text as well, like so powerful. So
What weekend does it happen?
it's usually like the 3rd weekend in July-ish. It's not the same every year, but it's always July. But like for sure hot. Well, and here's the thing, if it's your birthday weekend, here's what's gonna happen. During the weekend, you're gonna be like, I'm so hot, I'm so tired. Why didn't I bring a mattress topper? with your kids. So you can think about it between now and then. So I'm gonna do, I have, gosh, probably 20 minutes to do some quick stuff about positivity. So as I mentioned at the beginning, I teach about the power of positive leadership. And I just want to throw a couple nuggets your way today. It's like a tiny little chunk of some of the things that we teach, but I just want to share a few of the things with you. And the first thing is, why are we talking about positive leadership anyway? Like, oh boy, the world is so hard, and there's so much going on politically, and there's so much going on environmentally, and everyone's so mean, and all the things are happening all around us. But that's exactly why we need to be positive. We're not positive because life is easy. We're positive because life can be hard. Anybody been through anything hard in the last couple of years? Right? I mean, it's been a lot the last couple of years for many reasons. And even if you take out the last couple of years, we all have hard things. Besides, behind this mask that we all wear every single day, we've got hard stuff. Every single person has hardships. We don't know what everybody's is, but that's why we have to figure out how to be positive, because it's the positive leaders that are able to overcome the hardships. The negative ones just get sucked into the vortex, right? You just get sucked further. Well, this sucks. We can't do it. Well, right. And we're gonna, gosh, I hope I have time, but you're right. They take everyone with them. So sometimes one person can't make a team, or one person can't make a Rotary club, one person can't make a church group, one person can't make a family, but one person can break it with their negativity. And you're exactly right about that. Your name is Kelly, right? Okay, you're exactly right, Kelly. Okay, so as it relates to this, I wanted to just give you a quick illustration of this. And I want you to think about life as a pot of boiling hot water. Has anybody ever heard the story of the carrot, the egg, and the coffee bean? Yes. Oh, a few of you. That's awesome. Okay, so again, imagine life is a pot of boiling water, right? There's a lot of hard stuff going on. What happens to the carrot when it goes into the boiling water? It softens, it weakens, it disintegrates. It literally starts to fall apart, right? So imagine as a human, you start weakening and softening and just kind of crumbling under the pressure of the boiling water, right? What happens to the egg? It gets hardened. Maybe that manifests in being bitter and mad and mean and grumpy to others when the boiling water gets really hot, right? What happens to a coffee bean?
Produces a luscious liquid.
Yes! A luscious liquid. It actually transforms the environment. So if you think about this environment of a pot of boiling water, the coffee bean actually changes the water into something else. Instead of letting the environment transform it by weakening it or making it mad and mean and bitter, it actually transforms the environment itself. And the idea is that we can be a coffee bean. In any environment, we can choose to be a coffee bean. And what that means is we are responsible for starting to transform the environment, one behavior at a time. And as Rotarians, that's what we do all the time. We take on really hard projects, we go into really difficult environments, and we change them. One behavior, one service project, one smile, one vaccine, if you're talking about polio at a time, all those things, that's how we start to transform the world, the boiling hot water, into this awesome manna from heaven, right? That we all like to drink in the mornings. So I want you to think about your daily choices and how you can be more like a coffee bean and start to transform the environment. Don't let all this craziness drag us down. And as we build on this, I want to talk about just the idea of optimism, positivity, and belief as leaders. This is really so much of what it's about. As a leader, when we want to feed and fuel ourselves and others, it's these three words: optimism, positivity, and belief. So what I want to do first is I'm going to give you guys a little handout because I think it would be fun to talk about this. And for those of you online, I'm trying to look at you right here. I can't see your faces, but I'm going to give the group here. Actually, I'm going to have everybody shout out. So maybe you could, I'm going to skip this and do this as a shout out. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about your fuel tank. I want you to think about how are you feeling in terms of like empty, totally depleted, drained, depleted, tired, burned out, disengaged, full, happy, joyful, abundant, all the things, like feeling good, rolling right along. What I want you to think about, and let's do it as a shout out, and this can include the people on Zoom, but I want you to think about what are some ways, not only can you feed and fuel yourself, but also what are some ways you can fuel others? Because if you don't have it, you can't share it. So think about it. If your tank is empty and you're trying to pour into others, your family, your church group, your Rotary Club, your service projects, if you're totally depleted, you got nothing to give. So you have to be able to fill your tank first so you have something to give. And that's like when you think about asking people to volunteer for service projects, right? Well, if people are depleted, they're not going to raise their hand because they're done. Like, I'm done. I'm tired. I have nothing else in the tank. I have no gas in the tank to serve others right now. So what are some ways, let's start with, what are some ways that we can fill and fuel ourselves? Just shout it out.
The impact of service.
Yes. So going back to why we do what we do, right? What's the impact? Just like we did at the beginning. That's a way to kind of replenish us a little bit. Wow, I didn't realize we were making such an impact. What else?
I actually have a slightly different viewpoint. When I'm feeling low and empty, I find that giving and focusing out is what actually puts gas back in my tank.
Yes, I don't know how, if you guys on Zoom heard that, but what Kelly said was, when she's feeling depleted, giving actually fills up her tank. And interestingly, if you didn't know this already, that is scientifically proven to work. When we're feeling down, we can give to others, and it actually is that double benefit. It makes them feel better, and it makes us feel better. Anything else?
You let them know that I can hear them.
Okay. Jenny can hear you guys, so let me know if you hear anything. And what else? I'll give you.
Showing that positivity is just a smile on your face.
Yes. Showing positivity. So also smiling actually produces serotonin in your brain, which is a natural antidepressant. So when you smile, again, that makes you feel better and it makes others feel better.
Laughing is the same.
Laughing
There's
too.
something called laughter.
Yes.
Even if you don't feel it, like you can just start it and then it's contagious and then you're truly laughing. So
Yes. And again, if you guys can't hear Kelly, she's talking about laughing. And it is, it's true. And like, think about when you watch it, like some of those baby videos where the babies are giggling uncontrollably. There is literally no way not to laugh when you're watching those videos, right? Here are some other ways to fuel yourself. Practicing gratitude is one of the quickest ways to move from a stressed mindset to a blessed mindset. Like, and you don't have to be grateful for the hard thing. Like, you don't have to be grateful for the last 2 years of COVID and having to figure out all this technology and blah, 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 and hybrid and virtual and whatever. You don't have to be grateful for the thing, but you can be grateful in the thing. And I think that's a key little nuance there. So guess what? I'm bummed that this happened, but you know what? We learned how to figure out a new technology. We can bring more people to our club because we have virtual. We can bring new speakers that we maybe wouldn't ordinarily get because they're not local to Charlotte. We can do them virtually. Whatever it is, find ways to snap into gratitude. For me, the quickest way I can snap into gratitude is every morning I start with, thank you for the breath in my lungs and the heart beating in my body. And on our worst day, we all have that. So if you start there, at least for me, it's easy to let it flow from there. I usually do it while I'm walking my dog. So it's like, after that, it's like, thank you for my dog, thank you for the sunshine, thank you for my beautiful neighborhood, thank you for all the things. And it just can flow, but you have to make that intention to shift. As soon as things are feeling doomy and gloomy, how do you shift into some kind of gratitude? And especially in an area where maybe it's not so positive, find something in that not so positive thing to be grateful for. I had a client that gave me the best suggestion ever. And he said, at the end of each day, he looks back at his worst meeting, like his most difficult meeting, worst client conversation, whatever, and he finds something to be grateful for inside that. And it's a great practice that actually strengthens those connections in your brain. They say in your brain, what fires together wires together. So as you strengthen those connections inside your brain, your default position over time becomes more positive and more apt to be grateful for things. But you need to think about you, like what fuels you. So when your tank is empty, it could be anything. It could be playing with your kids or grandkids. It could be taking a walk. It could be going to the gym. It could be jamming some awesome tunes. It could be listening to a podcast. It could be whatever it is, but you should, I would offer that you should consider finding out what it is for you. So when your tank is empty, you can intentionally fill it, so then you can fill others. And then just what are some ways to fuel others? Bob already said smiling. That's a great way to fill and fuel others. What else? Hugs. Compliments, yes.
Saying thank you.
Saying thank you. Yeah. Sometimes people are grinding, and like zero appreciation comes their way. It's just expected. And
Letting
nobody's
people
coming.
over in the turn lane.
Oh my gosh, Kelly is dropping some brilliance, okay, for you guys on Zoom. Letting people in, waving thank you when you're in traffic. Yeah, it's a lot better than the other signal we can be giving people in traffic, right?
I do that under the dashboard.
That's generally 4 to 4.
Exactly. But really, just think about, someone mentioned compliments. Did you say compliments? Compliments. Also, the extension of compliments is encouragement. How do you know if people need encouragement? They're breathing. Everyone needs encouragement. And the word encouragement actually means to put courage into. So when you're encouraging someone, you're actually putting and pouring courage into them. Maybe they didn't know, that they were not feeling confident about something, or you didn't even know, but when you encourage them, it helps them lift up. So I'm going to just breeze through some of these things because we sort of talked about a lot of them, but I want to share this formula with you. And this formula is called E plus P equals O. And essentially what it means is you cannot control, the E is for events. We cannot control the events that are happening all around us all the time. We can't control any of it. But the P is our perspective, and specifically our positive perspective. What perspective do you bring to that event? And that equals the outcome. So if you can find a way to bring a more positive perspective really to anything, it's going to make that outcome more positive. And gosh, I want to tell so many stories, but I'm not, because I'm going to keep moving on time. So, okay. And this is really more on perspective. How you see the world determines the world you see. So when the first thing you see, when you see that picture, do you go all the way to the doom and gloom, or do you go to the center where it's blue skies and puffy clouds? What are you looking for? Because whatever you're looking for is really what you're going to find. So there you go. Okay, and we all have 2 dogs inside of us, right? Some of you guys may have heard this story about the wolves, right? We all have 2 wolves inside of us, or 2 dogs. One is positive and optimistic and hopeful and believes the best about the future. The other is negative and pessimistic and sad. Which one is going to grow? The one you feed. So how can you feed the positive dog? And we talked about feeding I'm going to skip this one because we don't have time. We talked about feeding the positive dog through gratitude. We can feed the positive dog by turning our challenges into opportunities. The minute you find a challenge, start to identify how many opportunities can I find inside of this challenge? How can I shift my mindset? It's all mindset hacks. E plus P equals O, gratitude, challenges to opportunities. It's all just little mindset hacks that we can take. And when we move into the idea of belief, what do faith and fear have in common? They have in common that they're both in the future. Faith believes in a positive future. Fear believes in a negative future. So what are you going to choose to believe? And then back to encouragement and belief. Just saying the words to another human being, I believe in you, has so much power. And it encourages people to keep going. And it encourages people to raise their hands. You know what? I didn't know that I was capable of that. But you know what? I believe that you can absolutely do that, Bob. Maybe I can, right? So, and then we talked about encouragement, just pouring that courage into another human being and giving them that stuff like, hey, well done, good job, way to go, you rock, thumbs up, whatever you need to do. And this sticky note piece, if you're in an office environment or in an environment where you're around other people, put a sticky note on a monitor, on a cube, on somebody's place setting here in the room, whatever. Just like stick some quick positive words for someone because it makes a huge difference. And I want to quickly talk about negativity because I don't think you can have a talk about positivity without talking about negativity. And I will just say that the biggest mistake that leaders and human beings make is that we allow negativity around us to persist and exist and we don't address it. We just kind of are like, oh, well, that person's that's just the way they are. And we're just gonna let them be over there and be the way they are. But it's not fair to everyone else. When we let people behave that way, and what we're showing the rest of the group is that we care more about that person that's driving us down than we do about the whole rest of the group. And it's really just not fair, so we have to be willing to address it. And I love this quote from Gandhi that says, I will not let anyone walk through my mind with their dirty feet. It's a good one, right? And the reason it's so good is because we have to be able to protect ourselves. We have to put a force field around ourselves so we can protect our own energy, just like that fuel tank. Because people are ready and willing to drag us down any chance they get, right? But we have to put the force field around and not let them walk through our minds with their dirty feet. And then I want to talk about kind of two elements of negativity that we really spend our time in, especially in our talks and training. One is complaining, and the other one is what we call energy vampires. I'll explain what that is in a second. So let me say this about complaining. If you're complaining, you're not leading. You're not leading. So as Rotarians, we're leaders, right? If we're complaining and moaning and groaning about whatever service project we're doing or about who's doing what and who's not doing what or whatever, we're not leading. So cut the complaining. And the way to cut it is through the no complaining rule. One is, but it has two parts. Part one is no mindless complaining. So when somebody starts complaining, oh man, this sucks, nobody showed up. Yeah, can you believe the same people have to do everything all the time? And oh my gosh, there's no bottled water, why not? And like, oh, the AV's not working and the people aren't here and the meals are slow and the blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's mindless complaining. Don't do that, okay? When people are mindlessly complaining, you gotta cut that. So the first thing you can do to protect your energy is walk away, right? The second thing you can do is say, hey, I don't want to be part of it. Like this conversation is totally dragging me down. I'm gonna go over here and talk to somebody more positive. Or you can shift the conversation. Hey, but you know what? At least we're all here and I know together we can do it. But positive, shift it to something else. But the second part is when there's a legitimate complaint, which of course there always is in life and business and Rotary and everywhere else, bring a solution. One, preferably two solutions. And move yourself forward instead of staying stuck in the problem, okay? So focus forward, bring solutions to a problem. And then the next thing is energy vampires, right? What, right? What is an energy vampire?
They suck all the energy out of it.
Yes, they suck the life out of the room. And literally we want to run from them, right? Like get them away from me. I hate energy vampires, right? They're terrible. So what do we do to turn on the light for our energy vampires? The first thing is we gotta encourage our energy vampires. The last people we want to encourage, we kind of are like, ugh, or I don't even want to talk to them. We have to find ways to lift up our energy vampires and encourage them. We have to coach, train, and develop them. If we're in business, for those of you who are in businesses, we have to coach, train, and develop them because sometimes their behavior is related to some kind of gap. Maybe it's a knowledge gap in business. I don't understand this process. I wasn't properly trained on this. Nobody onboarded me. Nobody's communicating to me, whatever. But we have to coach, train, and develop them so we can help them overcome whatever's going on. The other thing is we have to make sure to communicate, not only with our energy vampires, but with everyone. Communicate, communicate, communicate. Because when there's a void in communication, negativity fills it. So people start making up their own stories and they get really frustrated and mad and they just go off on their own tangent. But just remember that we own that curiosity with our energy vampires. We own asking them the questions and digging into what's happening. Sometimes people are energy vampires because something really hard is going on at home. But if we don't ask and we just let them sit over there, we can't help them. Once we ask and get curious, maybe we can say, hey, how can I help? So we need to turn on the light, find ways to turn on the light for our energy vampires. And when we're talking about transforming negativity, it all starts with a decision. And when I say team here, like this quote says, you have to decide not to let energy vampires sabotage your team. When I say team, I mean your work team, your Rotary Club team, your family team, your church team, whatever. It all starts with a decision. That's not how we do it here. At this club, we don't allow negativity in. So if you're going to be negative, then you're probably not going to fit in with us. If you're going to be negative, if you're a complainer, you won't like it here. But you have to decide this is not how we roll. So you have to decide, and then you have to follow that decision with action. So when people are complaining, when people are acting like energy vampires, you have to be willing to take it on and constructively, kindly address it. Hey, when you act like this, it kind of sucks the life out of the whole meeting, you know, and just not you always, not you never, not, you know, all that stuff, but just really kindly addressing it. And then you can love on them. You can love on your energy vampires and really figure out what's going on. Get curious, figure out what's going on so you can address it and you can move forward. And when you can move an energy vampire forward, I promise you that is those end up to be some of the most energetic, supportive people of your vision if you can find a way to turn them around. But you have to show them how much you care. You have to show them how much you care. So I'll leave you with this. And I skipped over like a whole bunch of lessons because I knew I wouldn't have time today. But I wanted to talk about feeding ourselves with optimism, positivity, and belief, transforming and removing negativity, and then quickly this very last one, and that's about driving with purpose. Because that's what we do as Rotarians. We don't get burned out because of what we do. We get burned out because we forget why we do it. And why we do it is purpose. And it's the letters after SFTL. It's the kids crying. It's the walls breaking down. It's hungry people being fed. That's what we do as Rotarians. So when you start to feel drained and like, gosh, all of us are doing most of the projects. We need more people to get involved, whatever. Come back to your why and remind the whole club of our why. Why are we here as Rotarians? We're here for this year, imagine Rotary. Imagine what we can do to change the world together in service as a group. So come back to your purpose every single time. And as we think about this, I want you to just think, if there was one that, I know this was only 25 minutes and it's really short, but I hope I gave you just a tiny nugget where maybe you can take one thing I said today, one little idea that you heard in your head and say, okay, you know what, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna encourage people more. I'm gonna stop complaining. I'm going to make sure I check my fuel tank and fill myself up before I go engage with my team or my club or my church or my whatever, right? I would love for you to just take one thing. And with that, I'm close. So I'm gonna wrap it up. Thank you guys for having me. Stop sharing. Okay, now we can see the people. Where do you want to pass the mic?
Here.
I'm gonna drop the mic over to Jen.
Thank you so much, Julie. I wish I had more time to hear more, but.
And by the way, Kelly's getting the book because she participated in the book.
Oh, yes, sir.
And here's my nugget. Here's my nugget.
Yeah.
So we are short on time.
Yep, you still want to we are.
Yes.
Kevin is gonna do a couple of announcements and the rest will save for next week.
Okay, just real quickly. I don't have my glasses. I wanted to mention two things. The first thing is Discover Rotary. Beginning next month, from August the 26th, we are going to try to bring more people on board. And it's just something we have to do. One thing I've learned in life is that you don't do more with less. You do less with less. That is what happens. We need more people joining Rotary, not just for this club, but throughout Rotary. We need more people. We need to get more things done. Discover Rotary is like an orientation for people that we think will be good Rotarians. It started in, there's a club called Forest Acres in South Carolina. They did it, they've been doing it for a couple of years now. They invite their friends, relatives, whoever, people who they think will be good Rotarians to a meeting. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to do it once a quarter. The first one is on August 26th. So my ask to you is to think of who you think might be a good Rotarian and to invite them to this meeting. It's actually going to start at 10:30 on August 26th. We're going to be in here an hour before the regular meeting starts. And then we will have a presentation. It's like an orientation for people who are considering it. And I've already developed it based on the Forest Acres presentation, which is excellent. They've actually been able to turn about 2/3 of the people they invited right to these meetings into Rotary. That's their return on investment. 2/3, they've grown their membership almost 75%. So it really is something that works. We just need you to start thinking about people that we can invite. So please consider that. You're gonna hear me preach about this every week.
Are we
Think outside the box.
Are we posting flyers or invitations to area, like the local businesses right around this area?
We have not, but that's a great idea. That's a wonderful one.
Right, if you want to send me the info, I can put a
I
flyer
will
together.
definitely do that. And it's something we all have people in our lives, people that we come into contact with that we know would be good Rotarians, who are service minded, who want to give something back to the community. Just think about that and extend a personal invitation to that person to be here at 10:30. Jenny will have one of the hands-on projects at that time because we don't want to subject the person to two speaking opportunities in that day. We'll have a hands-on service project and invite those people to participate in the hands-on service project at that time.
We're gonna make bookworms.
Bookworm.
Bookworm buddies.
Bookworm buddies. The other thing is Empowering Girls Initiative. This is something that started with President Shaker last year. It's something that's continuing this year, and it will continue with President Gordon next year. Why do we want to empower girls? Well, the United Nations Foundation offers us a few reasons. Empowering girls respects their human rights. Empowered girls become empowered women. Empowering girls leads to healthier families. Improvement to girls' education saved an estimated 2.1 million children between 1990 and 2009 because of improvements to their education. Empowering girls breaks the cycle of poverty. Every additional year of school increases a girl's eventual wages by an average of 12%. There's a project going on in Guatemala right now because girls are typically, they don't get to go to school beyond 5th grade. And a lot of them get married. So many things are empowering girls strengthens economies, increasing the number of women completing secondary education by just 1% could increase the country's economic growth by 0.3%. So that's what we're going to be doing. Rotary has embraced this as an international initiative. Here in the district, we're going to together. I'm the ambassador for the district because this is something I believe in so much. We've got an opportunity on August 27th at the Diaper Bank. The Impact Club, thank you very much, suggested that we have a Saturday, because it's hard for them to get away during the week. So Saturday, August 27th, we're going to have an opportunity at the Diaper Bank. There's 30 slots available where we can repack diapers for moms and for kids. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to continue to identify ways that we can help to empower girls in the district. So we'll have more to follow on that. Thank you.
So Kevin, that's a district-wide thing, right?
Oh, no, there it is.
Yes.
Boom.
Yeah. Yes.
Let's do a quick happy dollar. We have a couple minutes.
Happy.
Anybody happy today? Is anyone happy? I think David is happy.
I'm happy after Julie's speech.
Right.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Same thing, I mean,
How much should we
it's
drink?
amazing, Julie, thank you.
Whatever you want,
Whatever
Alex.
you want. If you don't come out of this meeting with something positive, you shouldn't go to a meeting.
That's right. Howard. Thank you, Howard.
That's high praise.
Brother, so.
Julie, you have made us happy, come again.
We heard Julie speak, I forget what meeting
It
it
was
was.
Cam's pre-pets virtual.
Yeah. It was like, and I think that's when Jenny said, we got him, Julie.
Cam is like the most energetic, positive
Yes.
person I think I've ever
Yes,
met.
Cam is. I just want to say thank you. You guys have all been so welcoming to me, and I love the way you all introduced yourselves to me when I came in, and I just felt very welcome. So thank you for having me. Happy about that.
And Julie, thank you again for the information on SFTO. Yes.
There's no way you can't leave here today without being positive and looking forward to the future and putting all those negatives aside. Julie, we will accept you back again.
Absolutely, Bob. And I will make a contribution online. Thank you for everything. Anybody online?
Happy, hey, Allison, I didn't know you were there.
Oh, wait, it's got another.
We lost everybody else.
Is that- Oh, I'm sorry. Kate.
Oh, here, stringed it up. I'll just put it in.
My mother was perhaps the most pessimistic person I knew. She had a couple of struggles and the glass was always half empty. And I looked at that, thought, that's not any way I want to live my life. It was, Phelps is having a sale of blouses. They'll be all gone by the time. She was healed. She was a perfect. So now in my family, when somebody is named, we just go, Ellen.
I love it. Do any of y'all remember, I know you don't, you're way too young. I'm talking really to the guys more my age. Do you remember Highlights magazine?
Of course, I like to still around.
Okay, that was question one. Do you remember Goofus and Gallon? Okay, that's where I was going. Goofus and Gallon. There was one guy who was always super positive, and another one that was Gallon, by the way. Goofus, of course, was not. So
And the other one, really aging myself, is Al Katz, Joe Fisk, who had the cloud over.
yes, yes, yes. All right, Madam President.
Thank you guys so much. I actually won, Julie. I came playing, they did a drawing and I wanted her to speak today, so I'm so glad for that. And I think at this point, I do have some announcements, but I will just send them out in an email. And so let's stand and do the, pass your heart buckets forward. Raffle ticket.
Oh, raffle.
David Hudson, David and Turner.
David, you better not have bought any tickets this time. David has been winning a lot lately.
Okay, 9289.
9, 2.
See what happens when you're anti-Helen.
Okay, then, let's stand and do.
Maybe it's instead of Karens, we need to start.
Yeah.
Helen.
Yes.
About the things we think, say, or do. Number 1.
Is it the truth?
Number 2.
Is it
fair
fair
to all concerned?
Number 3.
Goodwill and better friendships.
Number 4.
Will be beneficial to all concerned.
And number 5. Sticking with this online here, I know we've been able to, we really appreciate it. Thank you all of you guys.
I can't wait to see what those 25 chats are.
Oh, it's mostly about trying to figure out why what the word shape.
Oh,